The moment HOA President Beatrice the Banhammer Hastings slid her own key. She was absolutely forbidden to possess into the back door of my property. She sealed her fate. She thought she was performing a citizen's inspection. She thought she was catching me in a petty violation of the community standards. What she actually did was commit felony breaking and entering into the home of a serving county sheriff and his wife. The payback wasn't just a fine or a stern letter. It was devastating. It was total, utter public destruction. She went from queen of the cul-de-sac to a banned resident, stripped of her home and her pride, all because she couldn't resist stepping 1 inch over the legal line. You are not ready for the depths of this entitlement. Welcome back, subscribers, to Property Wars, the channel dedicated to crushing petty tyrants. If you hate HOA bullies and love seeing sweet legal revenge, you know what to do. Smash that like button until it cracks. Subscribe right now for more high-stakes property drama. We're diving into the absolute worst neighbor I've ever covered, a woman whose arrogance led to her total ruination. Let's get into Chapter 1. Our protagonist, we'll call her Sarah, and her husband, we'll call him Mark, had just moved into the prestigious, albeit intensely regulated, Whispering Pines Estates. Mark, by the way, is not just some guy. He's a county sheriff, a detail he kept purposefully low-key because, well, he just wanted to enjoy his 1 acre of peace. The antagonist is Beatrice Hastings, the HOA president. Beatrice was a creature of pure, unadulterated micromanagement. Her favorite accessories were a clipboard and a scowl. The initial conflict was, as always, pathetically small. Sarah and Mark had installed a small, tasteful, hand-painted birdhouse on a post near their back porch. It was a rustic, lovely piece that added character to their yard. Beatrice's first move was to try the shed key. It didn't work. Frustrated, she moved to the back porch. That's when she saw the birdhouse still proudly displayed, the fern having been moved back slightly by the wind. A vein throbbed in her temple. Defiance. She knew she had to send a message. They tried the master key on the main back door, the one leading into the kitchen. To her surprise, and frankly, her utter idiotic delight, the key fit the lock like a glove. The key was one of those old-school master access keys, meant only for fire department or extreme police access. Keys that should have been decommissioned years ago, but were somehow still on a dusty ring in the HOA office. As the tumbler clicked and the bolt slid back, a cold wave of adrenaline and self-importance washed over Beatrice. She was saving the community from these rule breakers. She entered the house. Her official reason, which she'd later stammer out to the police, was that she was inspecting the internal bracing. Because she had a hunch the shed's foundation issues had migrated to the main house. A ludicrous, physically impossible claim. But inside, her eyes immediately went to a small, almost hidden room off the kitchen. It was Mark's private office. On the desk, in plain sight, was his official county sheriff's badge and ID. Not the prop he used for community events, but his actual active duty badge next to a service-issued sidearm in a locked, transparent case. For a split second, a flicker of panic crossed her face. But the entitlement was too strong. He's a sheriff. Good. You should know better than to break the rules, she thought, doubling down on her delusion. She immediately whipped out her phone and started taking pictures of the birdhouse visible through the window, the back of a large, heavy safe in the corner of the office, and then, inexcusably, she opened Mark's desk drawer. She rifled through it, looking for what she couldn't say. She claimed later it was evidence of illegal activity. She found nothing but official department forms and legal documents. As she was closing the drawer, she heard the unmistakable sound of a car pulling into the driveway. Sarah and Mark were home early. Beatrice panicked. She slammed the drawer shut, tucked her phone into her pocket, and flattened herself against the kitchen cabinets. Sarah walked in first, setting her purse on the counter. She paused. The subtle scent of cheap perfume was heavy in the air, a scent she had smelled countless times at HOA meetings. Beatrice's signature scent. Then she noticed the deadbolt on the back door was slightly ajar, not fully seated. Sarah froze, her mind racing. She whispered to Mark, who had just stepped in, "Honey, the back door is unlocked." And ... Is that Beatrice's perfume? Mark, a sheriff who had been in countless tense situations, didn't hesitate. He pulled his official service weapon, which he was legally permitted to carry on him 24/7, and swept the room, his voice a low, hard command. Identify yourself. I am a county sheriff. Get your hands up now." Beatrice, frozen in the kitchen corner, let out a pathetic shriek. "It's me, Beatrice. I was just checking the pipes for the HOA." Mark's face was a mask of cold fury. This wasn't a homeowner dispute anymore.
Oh.
This was a home invasion. He never took his eyes off her, commanding Sarah to call 911 immediately. Beatrice, now crying hysterically, tried to leave, but Mark blocked the door, his weapon unwavering. The police arrived, and the sight of a fellow sheriff detaining the HOA president in his own kitchen sent a shockwave through the responding officers. Beatrice, still clutching her phone with the photographic evidence, was arrested on the spot for felony breaking and entering and criminal trespass. The moment she was led away in handcuffs, screaming about her rights as president, Sarah and Mark knew this was going to be a battle that would redefine their community. The cliffhanger. Beatrice, out on bail and defiant, immediately uses her final power to levy the maximum allowed fine, $5,000, against Sarah and Mark for damaging community peace and defaming an officer of the HOA. A completely baseless charge, but one that legally required them to spend thousands on lawyers to fight. Mark's face, staring at that $5,000 notice, was etched with pure, terrifying resolve. They were helpless to stop the fine right now, but the fight was far from over. Mark, the sheriff, wasn't just mad. He was meticulously legally furious. He didn't want petty vengeance. He wanted total, undeniable justice. He immediately hired the sharpest, most aggressive real estate lawyer in the county, a man who specialized in corporate law and destroying corrupt HOAs. Mark had two goals. 1. Get the criminal charges against Beatrice upgraded and solidified. 2. Launch a countersuit that would not only crush the $5,000 fine but also bankrupt the HOA and remove Beatrice permanently. The legal war began. The lawyer, leveraging Mark's law enforcement connections, immediately filed a motion to introduce Beatrice's illegally obtained photos as evidence of her intent to trespass and steal a legal maneuver that boxed her defense into a corner. Crucially, Mark had a conversation with his lawyer that went like this. She used an old master key. "I want every single board member, past and present, subpoenaed. I want to know who authorized that key, when, and why it was never decommissioned." The lawyer grinned. "You're going for corporate negligence, Sheriff."
I like it.
The resolution came in a tense, closed-door HOA board meeting, which Mark and Sarah attended with their lawyer. The lawyer presented irrefutable evidence. Beatrice's own phone contained time-stamped images of Mark S. official sheriff ID and the birdhouse, proving her intent was not checking the pipes, but an illegal, warrantless search and harassment. The lawyer dropped the nuclear option, a $5 million lawsuit against the entire HOA for corporate negligence, violation of privacy, and criminal endangerment, citing the fact that a non-resident was able to enter a home with an unauthorized key, which, Mark argued, posed a massive safety risk to the entire community. The key was the final nail. The board, faced with the prospect of their personal assets being drained by a $5 million judgment, folded instantly. They didn't just rescind the $5,000 fine. They voted unanimously on the spot to immediately and permanently remove Beatrice Hastings as HOA president, effective that very second. The core victory was achieved. The tyrant was deposed. Beatrice, who was attempting to read a self-pitying statement about her community service, was cut off. Her power stripped away in a single humiliating motion. The immediate fallout was brutal. The local news caught wind of HOA president arrested for trespassing on sheriff's home, and the story went viral instantly. Beatrice, now just a resident, was subjected to immediate public shaming. The $5 million lawsuit was conditionally dropped only after the board agreed to a complete independent audit of all HOA finances, which uncovered thousands in questionable supply purchases by Beatrice. The long-term aftermath was even sweeter. Beatrice's house, once the seat of the HOA's power, sat on the market for 6 excruciating months. Potential buyers were put off by the highly public scandal. Finally, she was forced to accept an offer well below market value, suffering a huge financial loss that further compounded her legal debt. But Mark and Sarah had one final, elegant move. The HOA, now under a new, much friendlier board chaired by a couple Beatrice had fined for a gnome, had revised the bylaws, eliminating the ridiculous birdhouse restrictions. Mark and Sarah decided to make a statement. On the day Beatrice was moving out, Mark was finishing the installation of a new structure in his backyard. It wasn't a birdhouse. It was a beautiful, custom-built, fully enclosed miniature dog park, complete with a running water feature, a small agility course, and a sign that read, "A sanctuary for non-compliant canines." It was completely compliant with the new rules, but a spectacular middle finger to the old regime. As Beatrice's removal van pulled away for the final time, she looked back and saw the structure. But that wasn't the final nail. The final nail came when Sarah, holding a glass of iced tea, walked over and offered a cheerful wave to the movers, ensuring Beatrice saw her. Then Sarah walked over to the new fence separating their properties, a fence Beatrice had constantly complained was an inch too short, and effortlessly kicked a section of the fence, revealing the original robin's egg blue birdhouse Beatrice had started the whole war over, which had been neatly reinstalled. It had been there the whole time, hidden behind the section of fence Mark had temporarily removed for effect. Beatrice, realizing the birdhouse had been on her former neighbor's property the entire time, and that her entire legal and financial ruin was based on a lie she herself perpetuated, simply crumpled into the back of the moving van defeated. Sarah and Mark had won the war, brought peace to the neighborhood, and installed a permanent, visible reminder of their legal triumph. And that, subscribers, is how you turn a petty HOA violation into a nuclear legal victory. Did Beatrice get what she deserved? Let me know the moment you thought she crossed the line in the comments below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more unbelievable Karen takedowns, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next epic property war. Stay vigilant, and we'll see you in the next one.